All right, welcome YouTubers and students. Today I will be coaching you, it looks like from the upper left corner of the video. And I'm not sure I'll be able to move me. So hopefully I'll have to rearrange the design tree and everything else. I do have it previewed on another monitor. Something's a little glitchy with the Screencastify app sometimes. We will make it through this. Today we are going to cover the video regarding Swiss cheese. What we've been doing in our recent videos is, in a nutshell, contrasting and comparing the difference between rendering and design intent. So rendering is you have a product, you make an exact replica of that product on shape on a 3D modeling system, and you make it look realistic and everything else, and you could 3D print it and you have an exact replica. But design, in the design world, every product goes through, I'd love to know the average number of revisions that the average product goes through, but it's at least dozens, depending on the industry, probably more or less. So when you, let's say we're going to revisit this Swiss cheese block that we did in a prior video. I'll put a link to the video in the documents. I'll put a link to this document in the video, make it public, so you guys can go on Onshape and download it. You can go back and do the video basically to cover the linear pattern tool. And let's say that we've designed this part and we just get note from one of our colleagues here that the part is too small, that it needs to be bigger. Well, and this is where my face is just going to get in the way. I wonder if I can move this design tree down. Okay. So let's say we find out that the block's too small. Maybe it's even just 1/8 of an inch off, which is enough to make you have to redo these things in a lot of industries. So let's go in and change the size of this rectangle. All right, and let's make it 3.125. Okay, 0.125 is 1/8 of an inch. All right, and then hit check. All right, what that does is, see how we're not symmetrical even anymore. In fact, I'm going to go in and make it a little more obvious so that we can see it. I'm going to go ahead and 3/4 of an inch and get a better representation of what we're talking about. Okay, the holes are no longer symmetrical. And so even in that 1/8 of an inch situation, the holes would no longer be symmetrical. Whatever this part's used for, probably want to be able to maintain its intent. It's maintain what it's supposed to do with those holes out of alignment. So what we can do is redo this so that whatever our design intent is, we come back and apply design intent, design thinking, so that revisions are much easier. Again, rendering versus design intent. So that's the situation we're addressing. Let's pretend that we want this part to remain symmetrical, the holes to remain equally spaced. We're going to try and do it that way. The intent may not always be that. The intent may be, no matter what the block dimensions change to, these holes need to stay exactly where they're at. I don't know. That's where you, as the designer, get the excitement of kind of forecasting what application this product's into, and the excitement of using awesome problem-solving skills to make it your best work. And then you're gonna have some home runs and you're gonna have a few strikes, but it's a really very fun way to engage the mind. So let's tackle this. Let's tackle this from, this part needs to be symmetric. The holes need to remain equidistant, equispaced, and the block should be able to shrink and grow with those constraints in mind. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open another document here. And I'm just going to recreate this part with those goals in mind. So we'll call this Swiss cheese version 2. Excellent. Now, the first improvement I'm going to make, you should know by now. All right. In that last clip I showed you, we grew the rectangle. And where was it growing from? The origin. Now, where do we want the origin? If you've been following along the videos and remember the pattern that's starting to take place, ideally the origin should be in the middle of this part in particular. So what we're going to do is use one of our rectangle tools. And which rectangle tool are we going to use? I'm going to sketch it in the front plane. Center point rectangle. And what that does is enables us to create that rectangle with the origin right in the middle of it. All right, the second habit that we're starting to build is when we dimension this rectangle, for this application, we do want it to be a square. A square is a rectangle, but a rectangle is not a square. So let's make this rectangle a square using only one dimension. Do you recall how to do that? When I say dimension, I mean this tool right here. Anything with a tangible number on it is going to be a dimension. We want it 3. Now what can we do to make this a fully black defined square with no other dimensions on it, no tangible numbers on it? We are going to add a constraint. Which constraint are we going to add? All right, the over here is your list of constraints. You've got dimensions and constraints. Prioritize constraints over dimensions typically. We're going to add an equal constraint. So we're going to make this one and this one equal. Bada bing, bada boom. We got a 3x3 rectangle, and we can go ahead and call that sketch good. Get it ready for its 3D feature of extruding it. So when we extrude this part, this is another habit we're changing from our prior videos. First of all, it's going to ask faces or sketch regions to extrude. Let's go ahead and just select our sketch. Face of sketch 1 is extruding. We're bringing that from here. What we're going to do is make this a symmetric. Watch what it does. Centers it right there on that front plane. All right. Well, this will help if we ever in the future want to make it thinner, thicker. The features will remain symmetric. There are always exceptions to this rule, to the rules, to the habits I'm teaching you. And that's why it's great to practice. It's great to find models on Onshape that are public and reverse engineer them and think, okay, how can I make this better? How can I make this different? Or just not changing anything, just seeing how they did it is a great way to practice. All right. Now that we're done with that plug, let's go ahead and we're going to add our first hole. Now I'm going to go ahead and add the hole in the middle. I'm trying to think of the best way to do this. If I make it a 3x3, okay, I actually think I'm going to go back to using, let's try it. If I have to edit the video, I have to edit the video. We're going to sketch. I'm going off of, I didn't make much of a plan for this, to be honest. Basically, we're going to sketch a hole right there in the middle. Okay, and we're going to make that hole a diameter of, what did we do in the last video? We did a diameter of 0.5. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and extrude that diameter so it's through all. All right, and there we go. And now I'm going to go ahead and do a linear pattern for this hole. All right, so it's going to ask linear pattern. Remember, start from the top down. You're not reading your Facebook feed. You can't just scroll because you'll miss some important details. So you got top down. You're reading your favorite book, every word. We're not linear patterning apart. That would include this whole block. We are linear patterning a feature. Making up words now. Okay, direction. Up and down. Now here's what we can do. We can do second direction. And I thought we'd be able to make it go the other way. Let's see, what am I doing wrong here? Centered? Okay. Select centered. Wonder if, interesting. So it looks like we can just get by with just selecting centered. Awesome. Now, I'm trying to think if there's a way, the best way to make it go, okay, we're going to go this direction. Oopsies. That's not what we want. We're doing a part pattern or something. Feature pattern, features to pattern. Okay, I must have, what I did was I accidentally clicked extrude 1 for features to pattern, so it thinks I want to do that whole block. So let's go back, extrude 2, it's centered. We're going to do a second direction. Let's make that direction this way. And instance count, let's just put 2 in here and see what happens. Okay, we get that. And then can we check centered? So we get that as well. All right, and now here's where it's going to dictate our distance of 1 inch. So we've created a block that if we make it bigger, I'm just going to show you. If we make it bigger, say we want it to be a 5 by 5. The folds will always stay centered and they'll stay the same distance apart. The part is technically still symmetric. So if you wanted to maintain that these bolt patterns, if you will, must remain this distance, we're good. But what if we want to go ahead and do the same thing, but make sure the holes also, like we make a few changes and we scale it and we make it so that the holes will grow in proportion to the block. Well, I'm going to do that in the next video here.